Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Ma'am Lovely. I am Louisa Maie Binato, classer today from Socorro Oriental, Mindoro. So my report is regarding to language and human. Lesson 1, Historical Timeline of Noteworthy Linguistic, Ferdinand de Sauassure, Noam Chomsky. So, Ferdinand de Sauassure was a Swiss linguist, semiontician, and philosopher. His ideas laid the foundation of many significant development in the both linguistic and semantic in the 20th century. He born on November 26, 1857 at Geneva, Switzerland, and he died at February 22, 1913 at Mouflens-de-la-Chaussée, Switzerland. His school is structuralism, linguistic turn, semiotics, and his children is Raymond de Sauassure, Jacques de Sauassure. His parent is Henry Louis Frederic de Sauassure, Louis de Portales, and his sibling is René de Sauassure. So si Ferdinand de Sauassure ay isang Swiss linguist, semiotician, and pilosopo. Ang kanyang idea ay naglatag ng pundasyon para sa maraming makabuluhang pag-unlad sa parehong linguistika at semiontika noong ika-20 siglo. What is Ferdinand de Sauassure known for? Ferdinand de Sauassure 1857 to 1913 is acknowledged as the founder of the modern linguistics and semiology and sa having laid of the groundwork from the structuralism and the post-structuralism. Born and educated in the Geneva in 1876, and he went to the University of Leipzig where he received a doctorate in 1881. So si Sauassure daw ay isa sa kilalang tagapagtatag ng isang modernong linguistika at semiology bilang naglatag at batayan para structuralismo at ipinanganak sa Geneva, nag-aral noong 1876, nagpunta sa Universidad ng Leipzig kung saan nakatanggap siya ng titulo ng doktor noong 1881. Who is Ferdinand de Sauassure and his contribution to language? Credited with establishing modern linguistics, Sauassure was one of the founders of the structuralism at a very young age. He applied principle of having structural analysis to solve a problem concerning the reconstruction of the Indo-European language family. So si Ferdinand de Sauassure ay ang isang kredito na nagtatag ng modernong linguistika. Siya ang nakapagpatatag ng structuralism sa murang edad niya. Inilipat niya ang mga prinsipyo ng pagsusuri sa istruktura upang malutas ang isang problema tungkol sa muling pagtatayo ng pamilya ng wikang Indo-European. Sauassure introduced structuralism in linguistics, marking a revolutionary break in the study of language, which had till been historical and philological. In his course in General Linguistics 1916, Sauassure saw language as the system of signs constructed by convention, understanding meaning to be relational, being produced by the interaction between various signifier and the signified. He held the meaning cannot be understood in the isolation. Sauassure illustrated his relationality of the language with the turn of the paradigmatic axis of selection and the syntagmatic axis of combination. Further, he challenged the view of reality as an independent and existing outside language and reduced the tongue cage to a mere naming system. He questioned the conventional correspondence theory of the meaning and argued that meaning is arbitrary and the language does not merely reflect the word but constitute it. So, ibig sabihin nito, si Sauassure daw ay isang nagmarka ng isang revolusyonaryong panghinga sa pag-aaral ng wika na hanggang ngayon ay makasaysayan at pilohiko. Sa kanyang kurso sa pangkalahatan pangkalahatang linguistika noong 1916, nakita ni Sauassure ang wika bilang isang sistema ng mga palatandaan na binubuo ng kombinasyon. Ang pag-unawa sa hulugan na maging relasyonal, na ginawa ang pakikipag-ugnay sa pagitan ng iba't ibang mga signifier at signified. Pinangahawakan niya ang mga kahulugan ay hindi mauunawaan sa paghihiwalay. Inilarawan ni Sauassure ang kaugnayang ito ng wika na may mga terminong paradigmatic axis o seleksyon at ang systematic axis ang isang kombinasyon. Dagdag pa man, hinamon niya ang pananaw ng mga realidad bilang independent at umiiral ng wika sa labasan at binabawasan ang package ng isang sistema ng pagpapangalan. Kinuwestiyon niya ang kombinasyon ng correspondence theory of meaning na nangangatwirang na ang kahulugan ng isang wika ay hindi sumasailalim sa mundo ngunit bumubuo nito. Structuralism in linguistic. Structuralism in the linguistic, any of the several schools of the 20th century linguistic committed to the structuralist principle that a language is a self-contained relational structure, the elements of which derive their existence of their value from their contribution and the opposition in the text or discourse. His main contribution to the structuralism was the theory of the two-tiered reality about language. The first is the language, that abstract and invisible layer, while the second is the parole refers to the actual speech that we hear in real life. So, ang structuralist ng linguistika ay pag-aaral ng 20th century na naktuon sa structuralistang prinsipyo na ang wika ay isang self-contained relational structure. Ang mga elemento kung saan nakukuha ang kanilang pag-iiral at ang kanilang halaga mula sa kanilang pamamahagi at mga pagsalungat sa mga teksto o diskurso. Ang kanyang pangunahing contribution sa structuralism ay ang kanyang teorya na ang isa ay tungkol sa language and abstract at invisible layer at ang pangalawa ay tumutukoy sa aktual na pananalita na naririnig natin sa totoong buhay. So, what is the main concept of Ferdinand de Saussure's structuralism? Structuralism is a mode of knowledge of the nature that human life that is interested in relationship rather than individual objects, or alternatively, where objects are defined by the set of the relationship of which they are part and not by the qualities possessed by them take in the isolation. There are four main common ideas underlying structuralism as a general movement. Firstly, every system has a structure. Secondly, the structure is the determines the position of each element of a whole. And the third is the structural laws. Deal with the coexistence rather than the changes. And the fourthly, structures are the real things. So ano ang pangunahing konsepto ni Ferdinand de Saussure sa isang structuralismo? Ang paraan niya sa kaalaman sa kalikasan ng buhay ng tao na interesado sa mga relasyon sa halip na ang mga individual na bagay o bilang kahalili kung saan ang mga bagay ay tinutukoy sa pamamagitan ng hanay ng mga relasyon kung saan sila bahagi at hindi sa mga katangiang taglay ng mga ito na kinuha sa paghihiwalay. Mayroong apat na pangunahing karaniwang idea na pinagbabatayan ng structuralism bilang isang pangkalahatan. Una rito, bawat sistema ay may istruktura. Pangalawa, ang istruktura ay kung ano ang tumutukoy sa posisyon ng bawat elemento ng isang kabuuan. Pangatlo, ang mga batas sa istruktura ay tumatalakay sa magkakasamang buhay sa halip may mga pagbabago. At ang pang-apat, ang istruktura ay ang tunay na bagay. What is an example of structuralism? An example of structuralism is describing an apple. An apple is a crisp, sweet, juicy, round, and hard. Another example of structuralism is describing your experience at the ocean by saying it is windy, salty, and cold, but rejuvenating. So, ang example nito ay yung ng structuralismo ay ang paglalarawan ng isang bagay o kung sino man. Halimbawa yan ay yung apple. Yung apple ay isang malutong, matamis, makatas, bilog at matigas. Isa pang halimbawa nito ay ang paglalarawan ng iyong karanasan sa karagatan o kahit saan mang lugar sa pamamagitan ng pagsabi na mahangin, maalat, malamig, ngunit nakapagpapabata. The next one is regarding to Avram Noam Chomsky. So Noam Chomsky is an American linguist, philosopher, cognitive scientist, historical essayist, social critic, and political activist, sometimes called the father of the modern linguistics. Chomsky is also a major figure in the analytic philosophy and one of the founders of the field of cognitive science. He born December 7, 1928 at the age of 93, ECS Oak Lane, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, United States. His education is at the University of the Pennsylvania, 1951 to 1955. So, ang kanyang asawa is the Valeria Wasserman, 2014, Carol Chomsky, 1949 to 2008. So his children is Aviva Harvey Diane Chomsky. And his parent is William Chomsky and Elsie Simonovsky. So ibig sabihin, si Noam Chomsky ay isang lingwistikong pilosopo, siyentipikong nagbibigay malay, manunulat ng kasaysayan, kritiko sa lipunan at aktivistang pampolitika. Minsan tinatawag na ama ng modernong lingwistika si Chomsky ay isa ring pangunahing figura sa analitikong filosofiya at isa sa tagapagtatag ng larangan ng agham na nagbibigay malay sa ating lahat. What is the greatest contribution of Noam Chomsky in language? Chomsky is the best known for his influence on the linguistics, specifically the development of the transformational grammar. Chomsky believed that the formal grammar was directly responsible for the person's ability to understand and interpret mere utterances. Transformational grammar, also known as the transformational generative grammar, so TGG, refer to the theory of the generative grammar of the natural language developed by Chomsky. Transformational grammar is the basically the theory that to understand the processing of the grammatical knowledge in the human brain. So ano nga ba ang pinakamalaking contribution ni Noam Chomsky sa wika? Si Chomsky ay kilala sa kanyang pagkakaroon ng impluensya sa linguistika, partikular na pagbuo ng transformational na grammar. Naniniwala si Chomsky na ang formal na gramatika ay direktang responsable para sa kakayahan ng isang tao na maunawaan at bigyang kahulugan ang mga pagbigkas. Ang transformational grammar na kilala bilang transformational generative grammar or TGG ay tumutukoy sa teorya ng generative grammar ng isang natural na wika na binuo ni Chomsky. Ang transformational grammar ay karaniwang isang teorya upang maunawaan ang pagproseso ng kaalaman sa gramatika ng utak ng tao. Noam Chomsky's contribution to linguistic. Noam Chomsky's linguistic research in the 1950s aimed to understand the tool and means through which children acquired language. He proposed of a system of principle and parameter that suggested a child's innate understanding of the syntax and semantics. So, ang contribution ni Noam Chomsky sa linguistika ay nagkaroon siya ng isang pagsasaliksik noong 1950s na naglalayong maunawaan ang mga tool at paraan kung saan nakukuha ng mga bata ang wika. Iminungkahi rin niya na ang sistema ng mga prinsipyo at parameter ay nagmumungkahi ng likas na pag-unawa ng bata sa syntax at semantics. Noam Chomsky theory of language. He has made a number of strong claims about language, In particular, he suggests that language is an innate faculty, that is to say that we are born with a set of rules about language in our minds, which he refers to as the universal grammar. The universal grammar is the basis upon which all human language build. So, ibig sabihin nito, ang teorya ni Chomsky ay gumawa siya ng isang malakas na pahayag tungkol sa wika. Iminumungkahi niya na ang wika ay isang likas na kakayahan na ang ibig sabihin nito, ipinanganak tayo na may set na panuntunan tungkol sa wika sa ating isipan. Tinutukoy niya rito yung universal grammatica. Ang universal na gramatika ay ang pagbatay kung saan nabuo ang lahat ng wika ng tao. Universal grammar. The universal grammar consists of a set of atomic grammatical categories and relations that are the building blocks of the particular grammars of all human languages. Overall, which syntactic structures and constraints on those structures are defined. This universal grammar theory suggests that every language has some of the same laws. So, for example, every language has a way to ask a question or make something negative. In additional, every language has a way to identify gender or show that something happened in the past or present. So, ang ibig sabihin daw ng universal grammar ay isang set ito ng automatic grammatical na mga kategorya na nag-uugnay na bumuo sa mga particular na grammar ng lahat ng wika ng tao, kung saan tinutukoy ang mga syntactic na istruktura at mga hadlang sa mga instrukturang iyon. Itong universal grammar theory ay nagmumungkahi na ang bawat wika ay may ilang parehong mga batas. So, halimbawa na dito yung pagkakaroon ng mga tao na magtanong o gumawa ng negatibo. At ang wika ay paraan upang makilala ang kasarian o ipakita ang mga nangyari sa nakaraan o kasalukuyan. So, classmate, do you have any questions? If you have no question, I have a question for all of you. You can send here your answer in our GC. So my question is, in my discussion, what are the main points in the Sauassure general linguistic? So they have two basic principles. So what are there? Another one is, what are the main points in Chomsky theory? So Noam Chomsky are American born. So what is predisposition to learn language? Thank you for your listening. God bless everyone. Good night.